Pablo Picasso is credited by some with saying that good artists copy, great artists steal. T.S. Eliot wrote very similarly, immature poets imitate, mature poets steal. And I know you come here for the T.S. Eliot quotes, so you're welcome. Anyhow, Eddie and Chavo Guerrero may have popularized the terms lie, cheat, and steal within the squared circle, but let's not act like some of the biggest names in wrestling didn't liberally borrow from their contemporaries. Ric Flair wasn't the first nature boy with bleached blonde hair who liked to use the figure 4 leg lock. Hulk Hogan freely admits that superstar Billy Graham was his in-ring inspiration. But hey, to steal another saying, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. I'm Senior Siete for 7 Wrestling. Let's take a look at 7 wrestlers who were accused of stealing. Now, before we get into this, we appreciate your support, so if you enjoy this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and diamond cutter that notification bell. Number 1. Save yourself. I did not care for Elias, don't get me wrong. The time he and Kevin Owens almost made Seattle burst into flames over a basketball reference was pretty sweet, but for the most part, he just didn't do anything for me. I just picture him rolling into town and being like, all right, we're in St. Louis, let's see. They hate the Cubs, maybe make fun of Ted Drew's. Ooh, they hate it when you call it Panera. But to his credit, he did try something different, like when he became his mysterious twin brother Ezekiel. In an interview with metro.co.uk, wait, is that how you say those URLs? I don't know, you feel me. In an interview with that place, Elias would discuss an angle that he pitched that was ultimately given to someone else. There was a character that I really thought could have been incredible myself. It was the Monday Night Messiah, and if you realize Seth Rollins and AOP ended up, for lack of better terms, they just gave it to those guys. I had a real vision of me being the Pied Piper of Monday Night Raw and controlling people with kind of a cult-like leader. The biblical things and things like that. I always loved that, the Messiah stuff. It's no discredit to Seth, the guy's absolutely incredible, but that's how the system works. You know what I mean? That's the risk you take with giving these ideas. I always loved that Messiah stuff, Elias says. Here's the thing, Elias isn't the only one taking credit for the Monday Night Messiah gimmick. Former WWE manager Abraham Washington claims that he had pitched a character known as Reverend Jeremiah Constantine. And on the High Spot podcast, Washington would say, "It just upsets me the fact that you can't even acknowledge me and that you're taking from my stuff, especially with the Seth stuff, the Monday Night Messiah. I'm pretty sure they got that from my promos." Maybe, but if we're making arguments about who originated a religious preaching gimmick, we gotta talk about this guy too, don't we? Number 2, clutch move. This is Salvador "Gory" Guerrero Quesada. He was a legendary Mexican professional wrestler and one of the most influential figures in lucha libre history. Born in Rey, Arizona, he moved to Mexico as a child and later became a star in the wrestling world known for his technical skill, innovation, and impact on future generations of wrestlers. Guerrero debuted in 1937 and quickly gained recognition for his aggressive yet technical style. His ability to mix submission holds with high-impact maneuvers made him one of the most respected competitors of his era. He was known for inventing moves such as the Gory Special and the Camel Clutch, both of which have been adapted by wrestlers worldwide. But you probably best know him as the father of WWE Hall of Famer Eddie Guerrero. This is Mark Capani. He portrayed the role of Muhammad Hassan, an Arab-American villain who felt discriminated against in a post-9/11 America. His character, often accompanied by his manager Davari, was introduced as an outspoken critic of American xenophobia, making him one of the most provocative figures in WWE history. Hassan debuted on WWE television in December of 2004 on Monday Night Raw. Despite being booked as a heel, his promos often touched on very real societal issues, which added depth to his persona. This overall concept was perhaps too nuanced for Vince McMahon at this time, so the role would be tweaked to turn him into a full-blown terrorist. Now, part of the portrayal involved Hassan utilizing the camel clutch as his finishing move. This maneuver was probably made most famous in the United States by another anti-American heel, the Iron Sheik. So when Hassan saw Eddie Guerrero performing the move, he asked him to refrain from using it. Well, apparently Muhammad didn't know his wrestling history because, like we said earlier, Eddie's dad freaking invented it. In a video on his YouTube channel, Maven would have this to say about the exchange between the two. I don't know how the conversation went, but supposedly he approached Eddie and asked if Eddie could not use the maneuver, that way protecting it when he used it as a finish. Muhammad was unaware that Eddie's dad invented the maneuver, was quick to learn when Eddie told him, "You only have this move because it originated in my family." Obviously Hassan, who had heat backstage for whatever reason, once the Boyz found out that he went to one of the most respected wrestlers of all times, Eddie Guerrero, there was nowhere else for him to land but Wrestler's Court. And for those of you who don't know, Wrestler's Court was basically a kangaroo court that talent would hold where the Undertaker would levy fines and punishments for minor transgressions. I'm no legal scholar, but I'm pretty sure the precedent in this incident was the case of Family Dibs versus Duh. Number 3. Basic Thugonomics. John Cena's story of how he made it to the top of the WWE is a pretty well-known one. To do a quick recap for the uninitiated, he debuted as a very bland character whose most interesting characteristic is that he had a set of tights and boots to match the city's home sports franchises. This wasn't nearly enough to make him into a star, but luckily, Stephanie McMahon overheard him freestyle rapping on a bus one time and was very impressed. They gave him the opportunity to rap on the Halloween episode of SmackDown while dressed up as 90s icon Vanilla Ice, although I'll always argue Cena was less Robert Van Winkle and more Mark Wahlberg, making you feel the rhythm was his occupation. From there, Cena just ran with it, becoming the heelish doctor of Thugonomics, rapping his way to the ring, insulting the city and his opponents, usually working in a bit of sexual innuendo before throwing a bag of nuts at people. Oh, these nuts to be exact. All of this helped get him over with the crowd and turned him into one of the biggest baby faces of the ruthless aggression and PG eras. But at least one person thinks John Cena was, and I quote, a complete ripoff of an earlier gimmick. Now, meet Wolfie D. He and JC Ice made up one half of the rapping tag team known as PG-13. This duo is probably best known for being members of the Nation of Domination in the late 90s. They're responsible for the lyrics, "We are the nation, live and in color, don't diss the man or we'll bum rush your mother." Oh, so good. Don't bum rush my mother. In an interview with the Monty and Pharaoh show, Wolfie D would say, "I just have a personal bias to it because I was the first guy to do that gimmick. I think that John Cena is a complete ripoff of PG-13, Wolfie D, whatever you want to say." Which obviously leads us to the response that yes, PG-13 did a rap-inspired gimmick long before John Cena pumped up his Reeboks. The math definitely works out. Some might take issue with someone claiming the entire music genre of rap as their own, and others might take issue with the person laying claim to all things being rap looking like this guy. Number 4. Cutting response. There's a rule in most wrestling locker rooms that you don't swipe someone else's finishing move. However, that became a bit of a gray area when it's two wrestlers who are working in different companies. For example, it was considered okay for Michelle McCool to perform the Faith Breaker in WWE while the inventor of the move, AJ Styles, was doing the Styles Clash in TNA. Or take Triple H, for instance. He's best known for his devastating finisher, the Pedigree, among other stuff. I mean, he's known for a lot of stuff. But yes, the Pedigree, a double underhook facebuster that looks awesome when done correctly, pretty crappy when done poorly. But here's a fun little fact for you. When Hunter first made his way to WWE from WCW, he started using Diamond Dallas Page's Diamond Cutter as his finish. Weird, right? In an article for the Player Tribune, Dallas Page would discuss how he wanted to nip this little action in the bud, saying, "They'll be running a Triple H match, and at first, it'll just be a totally normal TV match, but then out of nowhere, Paul will hit his opponent with a diamond cutter." A fucking diamond cutter! That'll be a talented, young, next-level motherfucker right there with a great look and an all-time work ethic, and if he starts using the cutter, Dallas, let's be real, pretty soon yours will be obsolete. So you'll call him up that very same night, "Paul, it's Dallas. D, hey D, how you doing?" Good, bro, you'll say, but I'm just calling, I've got a favor to ask. Sure, D, what do you need? And you'll go, don't say sure yet because I got no right to ask you this. Come on, D, ask me anything. And so you'll say, bro, I saw you catch the diamond cutter out of nowhere the other night, and like I said, I got no right to ask you this, but you're my boy, Polly, and you know how damn hard I worked to get here, and that cutter, bro, that's my meal ticket. So Polly, kid, if there's any way on earth that you could not do it again, man, I just can't even tell you, I would be so appreciative. And man, this is so real, Paul will let you finish, and then, without even missing a beat, he'll say to you, done, bro, come on, say no more, it's done, and he'll never do it again. Kid, that's who Triple H, that's who Paul f***ing Levesque is. And scene. Oh, thank you. Stop it. I like to think that I really brought that performance to life. I also love how in Dallas's little representation of this moment that Triple H talks exactly like he does. Bro, best friends. From then on, Triple H would exclusively use the pedigree as his finish, which he had clearly stolen from Andre the Giant. Number 5, everybody cut. Ooh, more diamond cutter theft, okay. If we're being honest, John Laurinaitis is credited with inventing the move. It was his ace crusher originally, but screw that guy. Stealing moves is a lot like stealing jokes. Nobody wants to be accused of it. That is, unless you're the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes. He's basically the Dane Cook of professional wrestling. He even gleefully has a specific rule about when it's appropriate to lift part of someone's offense. In an interview, he said, "My rule is, if I've wrestled you 5 times, I could do all your stuff, and it's only my move, and people hate it." Yeah, man, I bet they do. Imagine you're 4 matches into a program with Cody. You see that 5th match slated for next week. You're probably sweating bullets. He stole that weird laydown punch from his brother. He'll do the Alabama Slam that his former tag team buddy Bob Holly was known for. And when he springboards off the ropes with that diamond cutter, well, he stole that from AEW star Will Ospreay. He even admits it. He said, "I love the Cody cutter, and I think it's better than the Oz cutter, but I did get it from Will." And Ospreay, like most wrestlers who see the champion of the biggest organization in the world doing the move he originated, wasn't thrilled about it, saying on Twitter, "He stole my cutter, I just remembered that, motherfucker, pay me." Maybe the lesson for this episode is that every wrestler has some kind of cutter variation and that they are wildly protective of it. Another example was in 1999 when the Hardy Boyz were finally starting to make a name for themselves on WWE TV after years of jobbing to Razor Ramon and King Kong Bundy. Wow, that's weird. It's like they don't even belong in the same universe. The duo was starting to pick up a win or two on Shotgun Saturday night, and they were encouraged to come up with a new finisher. At the time, the brothers were using a double team called Event Omega, where Jeff would hit a splash, at the same time Matt would hit a leg drop. It's awesome. It's just not the kind of move you can hit out of anywhere. Michael Hayes would pitch an idea where Jeff would lift the opponent into the air, and Matt would hit him with the Twist of Fate. And here's the result. Kinda looks like the Dudley Boyz Dudley Death Drop, or 3D as it's better known. It was okay though because the Dudleys were in ECW at the time, so it's cool, right? Wrong. In their book Exist to Inspire, the Hardy Boyz would say, "Turns out one of the ECW crew was watching Shotgun that night. He immediately called Bubba, 'Hey man, the Hardy Boyz just did 3D on WWE TV. Well, this was back when Amy was working up at ECW. All those guys knew that she and I were kind of seeing each other. Our official terminology was, we hang out once in a while.'" Quick aside, in this book, Matt talks about how Amy, also known as Lita, had a boyfriend the first time they hooked up, so, At the next ECW show, Bubba grabbed Amy, he pulled her aside and said, "You date Matt Hardy, right?" "Well, I'm friends with him," Amy said. "You just tell Matt Hardy that next time I see him, he's dead." Fortunately for Matt, the next time they saw him was when the Dudleys were signed with the WWE, and it probably wouldn't have been a good idea to beat him up. And Matt and Lita lived happily ever after. Number 6, a rose by any other name. Mandy Sacamano, better known as Mandy Rose, had a tough time finally getting over. I mean, she's like smoking hot, so to that degree she was always kind of popular, but not over as a wrestling persona. For whatever reason, they never found the right direction for her sexy, seductress character, and she floundered for quite a bit of time. I'm of the belief that her pairing with Otis was finally going to do the trick. Go back and watch the 2020 Women's Royal Rumble. Pay attention to how the crowd reacts to their antics. They love it. I think if they had an audience for their big moment at SummerSlam, things would have turned out very differently for them. But alas, they were split up without much of a reason, and Mandy was moved back to NXT. It's there that Mandy finally leaned into her characterization that got her to the dance in the first place, that of a seductive mean girl. Leading a trio known as Toxic Attraction, Rose would go on to win the NXT Women's title and unify it with the United Kingdom Women's title. Unfortunately for Mandy, she was released from the company and it was learned that she was selling naughty pictures of herself online. Fortunately for Mandy, she made $1 million in the first few weeks she started doing this. Now, Mandy's been gone from wrestling for a few years at this point and will occasionally hint that she'd be interested in a comeback. Now, you probably know this person. It's the reigning WWE Women's World Champion, Tiffany Stratton. While her and Mandy have a bit in common, both blonde, both beautiful, both buxom, the similarities seem to end there. While Mandy is a femme fatale, Tiffany's more of a spoiled brat. It'd be like comparing Angelina Jolie and Paris Hilton. So it was a bit surprising when Mandy called Tiffany out on the Power Alphas podcast for gimmick infringement. Mandy would say, "A new champion named Tiffany Stratton used my slogan, put some respect on my name. To be honest, I wasn't even watching it, and I got so many tweets about it, and I was like, what is going on? And I saw the clip, and this bitch even used the same kind of tone." Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the phrase, "put some respect on my name," has existed long before Mandy Rose was a WWE superstar. This memorable quote is generally credited to Louisiana rapper and hip-hop entrepreneur Birdman during his confrontational guest appearance on the radio show The Breakfast Club in late April 2016. So maybe Mandy should put some respect on the Birdman's name. Or, if she's so worried about gimmick infringement, maybe she should be more careful about when she dresses up like Nikki Bella. Well, I wouldn't worry about it, Mandy. I assume you're still making major bank off of the internet. And it's like I always say, don't worry, be happy. And yes, I invented that saying, don't bother Googling it. Number 7, half of damn WCW. Honestly, this whole list could have easily just been the top 7 gimmicks that WCW stole. Let's see what we got here. There's the time that WCW was unable to sign the Ultimate Warrior, so they slapped some paint on Richard Wilson, gave him some caffeine, and debuted the Renegade. The Road Dogg Jesse James was having some luck with his charismatic marijuana enthusiast character, so they dressed up his brother like this and called him Buzzkill. You've got China, they've got Asia, because, you know, Asia's bigger than China. Zing! They've got the Big Mac, we've got the Big Mick. They'd move wrestlers over from the WWE and just try to recreate the gimmick they had been doing previously. That's how you ended up with Nails becoming the Prisoner and Earthquake becoming Avalanche. You got the Big Boss Man known as the Boss. Is that 7? That's 6. Okay, well, here's the best one they ever stole, and they didn't even steal it from WWE. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Arachnoman. Does whatever an arachnid can. Well, there's our list. Did we leave out any other wrestlers who were accused of stealing? If so, please leave them in the comments section below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and sunset flip that notification bell. Till next time, I'm Senior Siete for 7 Wrestling saying bye-bye.